Hello and welcome back. This is the 2-week update video for Delirium. Um, this is a brand new character that I put together in the past 3 days. I had a lot of fun with the Elementalist. I ended up getting the build to about 3.5, 4.5 million DPS, depending on which buffs I chose to run. However, I was getting a little bit tired of dying to Delirium. Um, I didn't die all that much, but I decided that rather than die occasionally to delirium, I would prefer to never die at all to anything. So I have switched to a guardian. This is kind of the more meta choice right now, it seems. You've probably seen other videos, or at least other comments on Reddit or other people playing the game that have chosen to go guardian, and I will show exactly why that is the case, why people are doing this. Um, But let us first go through some of the gear that we will need, some of the changes that I've made. Um, you know what? It might be better just to first show off the defenses. Why you go Guardian in the first place. 90%, 90%, 90%. That's the same as before. We have 65% Chaos Res now and 90% Fizz reduction. Looks like I have a large sale. Yes, I will accept that. This is, of course, going to interrupt my video. Sorry about this. Drop this pretty insane megalomaniac from a. I can throw. Yeah, sure. Throw in 150 fusings. Um. Right. So I dropped this running simulacrum. Simulacrum is easy. You can't die. You can't die to anything. I've died once since I started running this build, and that was to detonate dead box, which I was actually very surprised could kill me. Um, I will be running through this T16 Pit of the Chimera, and we will see that my damage it's pretty decent, but it's not as much as the Elementalist had. But one note that I'd like to make is that you have a lot of options for how you want to do your damage. Um, and the options that I've chosen are not necessarily the best. I will be going through what those are um, actually right now. So I'm running Lightning Tendrils, Castwell Channeling, Arc. Inspiration is, of course, a clear choice with Castwell Channeling. And then that just allows me to use 4 different damage supports. But the main reason that I've chosen to do this is because I get to run 2 damage auras now that I'm a Guardian and I'm not reserving mana for Spellslinger. Um, Wrath is just insane. It gives us 21% more spell lightning damage. That's actually like 80% more spell lightning damage, which is just a crazy high more multiplier. And then Zealotry, of course, also using this 16%, so really 45 or so percent more spell damage. On top of that, we have Righteous Fire. As a Guardian, we can just run Righteous Fire without running Vitality, which is, pretty balanced stuff. This gives us 39% more. So we just have all of these ridiculous more damage multipliers, which really means that we can run any skill that we want. In addition to that, this is a pretty cool pickup. The Nebulous is a pretty cheap item this league. I'm not really sure why nobody's running it, but this gives us, we can choose between either lightning or cold when we're buying it. 20% increased lightning damage per 1% lightning resistance above 75. Since we have 90, did the math out here, that's 300% increased lightning damage. And in addition, we have some increased cast speed. One thing that you could do as well is get a better implicit than reduced enemy stun threshold. Don't ask me why that's the one I picked up. It's because it was cheap. If I wanted to get a better one, there are implicits that give percent increased damage for you and nearby allies. That counts as an aura. That also would get multiplied. You could get that up to 20%, so you could have basically an implicit that gives you 80% increased damage. since it's a synthesized item, you can have up to 3 implicits. So I could have a much better item here if I had been willing to spend more on it. Going over some of the gearing choices, we are using Oxium now. We're using a mana ring. We have Shaper's Touch. These are all just to give us more mana. And I only have 3,000 mana or so. If I could get this up to a more reasonable, like 5,000 to 6,000, which is completely achievable for a Guardian, we would have a huge amount more energy shield. However, I didn't see a need to focus on that as we have so much mitigation and already 10.6 to 11,000 depending on how I use my skill points. I just never die. If I really wanted to, I could replace this with a much more expensive split personality that gives us int and mana. I could run 2 of them, one here, even one here if I wanted, and I could easily get up to like 4.5k mana if I did all of that. That's quite expensive, and as I just explained, not necessarily worth it. The tree, we're just focusing on, as before, the reduced mana reserved. That's the most important stat by far. I'm picking up a large number of mana nodes, and I have these extra reduced mana cost of skills just so I can run a leveled Flame Dash. Costs 9 mana, I have 9 remaining. This is completely not worth it. If I respect out of these points, I only have 1 respect point. Cool. I just wanted to show that I can easily switch back to having like over 11,000 energy shield because we have so much flat energy shield. Every point that we put into 6% increased energy shield gives us like 200 maximum energy shield. Now I can't use Flame Dash though, so we're not going to do that. Let's see what else. We have openness now instead of energy from not. This gives us quite a bit of mana, like 300, which in turn gives us extra energy shield. Because of Guardian's Radiant Faith. So this is the main reason you run Guardian. This gets multiplied by 4 because of all of the purposeful harbingers. So it's giving us around 40% reserve mana as energy shield, and whatever 160 times 4 is of our reserve life as armor. In addition, Unwavering Faith gives us 4% physical damage reduction for each of our auras and 0.8% life regen for each of our auras. This is why we don't need Vitality to run Righteous Fire, because every one of our 13 different auras is giving us close to 1% life regen and 4% physical mitigation. We're even running a level 1 Clarity just because even though the aura does nothing for us, it gives us that extra mitigation and regen. Radiant Crusade gives us 40% more damage, which, you know, this is usually a pretty bad node. 40% more damage makes it worthwhile. And finally, I was really hoping Unwavering Crusade counted as an aura, but it does not. It doesn't affect us. So this is not worth it unless you want to run a support Mana Guardian. Instead, we're taking Bastion of Hope, because funnily enough, the line that says if you've cast a spell recently, you and nearby allies have 10% chance to block spell damage, that is an aura. And since we use spells all the time, when I cast my spell, I go up to 35% chance to block spell damage, and that's like a permanent thing, that's always up. So even more mitigation on top of our already absurd amount of mitigation. The Watcher's Eye that I am using with this build is 28% increased energy shield recovery rate. So instead of like 1,000, I guess 970 energy shield recovery rate, we have like 1,300. A little bit less than that, but you get the idea. And then finally, we have reduced extra damage from critical strikes while affected by determination. This could probably be a better Watcher's Eye, but I do like the idea of taking no damage. Taking 60% less damage from crits is always cool. We of course still have Pain Attunement. That's just another more damage stacking multiplier. And we have Zealot's Oath. Those are the main changes since the last build, where we are no longer doing any kind of leech. Instead, our defenses come from mitigation and a gigantic amount of regen. For flasks, we still are using Aziri's Promise just because it's 11% more damage. Now we're using Vessel of Victor instead of Taste of Hate, because this gives us Lightning Pen, shocks enemies around us. Lightning Pen is the main reason. And Sulfur Flask, also very important. This gives us 6% regen, as well as some minor amount of increased damage. 6% regen of this is like 600 energy shield per second. If I'm ever in a spot that I'm taking some damage, which is unlikely for me to take damage, but if I am, I just use the Consecrated Ground, the Sulfur Flask, and I go back to max almost instantly. So let's just run a Pit of the Chimera, and I will show you that I can't die, but I also do I do not as much damage as before. Most boss fights it's just kind of devolve into me standing in the middle of the arena, tabbing out while I hold down my right mouse button, and coming back to the boss being dead. Not sure why the quality right now is not great. I'm apparently lagging. Oh, I guess because I went through a Delirium portal I couldn't see. That's interesting. Let's get going. Holy shit. This is bad. Yeah, not sure why the quality's so bad. Hopefully it picks up a little bit. Oh yeah, I'm not running a freeze flask because I just don't really care about getting frozen. Obviously could be running that instead of a Vessel of Victor, but because of Oxium, freeze duration on me is so low that I just don't really see a need to run it. I'm gonna just walk into monsters for a little bit here to show that I do indeed take 0 damage. I can tank literally anything and not go below 80% HP. We will tank all of these. And time for the boss. So I didn't show the actual tooltip DPS we have. We have 365k, now 422k DPS on lightning tendrils, but that is with lightning penetration. So really what we're looking at here is a 3-link since castable channeling doesn't give us damage. A 3-link lightning tendril is giving us almost 500k DPS is pretty decent. That doesn't take into account the fact that I shock, or the extra lightning pen from Victor or the lightning pen support. Our arc does around 70k, to 88k now. Damage per cast, it casts around 3 times a second. So combining all of our damage per second plus damage per cast plus damage penetration, I'd estimate that we're at around 1 million DPS, which, as I said before, is a downgrade from the 3.5 million DPS we reached with the Elementalist, but still, it's not bad. Alright, so that's just a quick showcase of our new Guardian build. If I do make any significant changes, for example, a different spell other than Lightning Tendrils, because this spell is awful, I will make a new update video, but hopefully you get the idea now that, Guardian is just OP, and this is the reason why pretty much everybody in the game is currently running a Guardian with this setup. When I say everybody, I just mean Reddit. This has been going around Reddit like wildfire. So if you do have a chance to test it out, it's quite fun. I do recommend it. Final thing before I leave, I've been working on trying to get the Tailwind modifier on a pair of Hunter boots. It has not been easy, but that'll be the next upgrade, and that'll be quite cool. I'll make a video showing that off if I'm able to get it, because it should give us like another 40% action speed. Action speed's quite cool. Anyways, that's it for now. Thanks for checking in.